multiplication in year 4, we would start off with the grid method. So what we would expect the children to do, the question here is 826 times 3. So they need to be able to partition 826 to help them. So it's 820 and 6. And with multiplication, just like with addition and subtraction, you always start with your ones. So the first thing I'm doing is 6 times 3. And here we write the answer of 18. The next ones, we're moving on to our tens. There are 20 tens in 826. Therefore, we're doing 20 times 3. Now, sometimes the children can be thrown by questions like that. So we always say to them, use your multiplication knowledge. So here I'd say to them, right, what's 2 times 3? And they know 2 times 3 is 6. Multiply it by 10 to help them get that answer of 60. And then moving on to our hundreds, say 800 times 3. And again, breaking it down into similar steps. So what's 8 times 3? They know that that is 24. Multiply it by 100 gives you 2,400. And the final step when using the grid method is they have to add these 3 numbers together. So 2,400 add 60 add 18. And that gives them the answer of 2,478. So it's just a way to break it down into the steps before they move on to that formal written method of multiplication.
That only works if they actually know their times tables. So that's absolutely critical that they're practicing their times tables all the time. And there will be a check in year 4 at the end of year 4. Some of you will have heard about that on the media. It's a statutory check that we do with children in year 4, and there'll be about 25 questions, and they will be expected to know all of their times tables very quickly. It's all done on a computer, so they just have to put the answers in. So we don't want them to be stressed about it, but it is something that they will have to do.
You know, where we just sort of want the children to apply the method and to use the method, and I can't really see that, let me see if I can zoom in. We might even sort of give them a multiplication grid or something to help them, so that actually, you know, for 2 times 4, 2 times 2, for example, the answer's 4, they can use this, but really we just want them to practice the method, which is why we're sort of helping them out a little bit there, because actually they can do the method sometimes, but it's not knowing their times tables where some of them are tripping up sometimes. So this is called the expanded method of multiplication. Sometimes they might have done this in year 3 as well, but we might recap it in year 4 if we feel that we need to, sort of assessing where the children are at. And basically it's just kind of setting them up for later when they do the short multiplication method. So again, they start with their ones, and we say to them that this number is going to be your busy number, so it's going to be doing all the work. So 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 20, and we do encourage them to write down the calculation as well, just so they know what it is that they're doing, is 60, and 3 times 800 is 2,400, and then they're all hopefully nicely lined up in their columns for them to add up, which really is just following on from the grid method before they move on to the short method, the short multiplication method. And ideally this is where, you know, the age-related expectation is at the end of year 4, that they are using a formal written method like this. So start with your ones. 6 times 3 is 18. They know that they can't put the 18 there, so they carry the 1 under, put the 8 here. 3 times 2 is 6, add your 1 is 7. 3 times 8 is 24. So put the 4 there, carry the 2, there's nothing to add, so put your 2 there. 2,478. I think that's it. Are there any questions about that one?
Do you have to put the? Do you have to carry the 2 there? Can you not just write the 2?
You can just
Quite
write
often
straight.
They just write it straight.
Yeah.
You can just write the
But
2.
it helps them not.
What we do, what happens is sometimes they will forget to. It's just to really reinforce the carrying the 1 here, that it's really consistent. But absolutely, they don't need to put the second, you know, the 2 there, as long as they know.
Where a lot of them make mistakes is not showing that exchange, because then they're forgetting to add it, so they would just put for here 2 times 3, they would just put 6, and they're forgetting to add that extra 10. So it's actually really important that they do show that exchange.
year 5 and 6 together, but this is a year 5 where we're multiplying 2 digits by 2 digits. Again, following on from year 4 where they're using the grid method or the area model, and it's laid out like this. So we have 34 multiplied by 23, so we've got my 30 and my 4, 20 and my 3, and then I'm multiplying 30 times 20 is my 600, 4 times 20 is my 80, 30 times 3, 90, and 4 times 3 is 12. And then the children write out the addition calculation at the end, at the bottom, where they're showing the 600 and the 90, 80 and 12. Some children will be able to add that mentally, but we do encourage that they show it like this so that they can see if they do make a mistake. Sometimes they might forget to add one of the numbers, and then your answer is 782. And then so that will support them until they're more confident, and then they go on to the more formal method. And we lay it out like this: 34 times 23 with the line, and then we use squared paper, and then they leave 2 lines, and then they put another line down here. And so the first part is the 3, as Miss President Smith called it, the busy number. 3 times 4 is 12, so I have my 2 here and my 1 here. I've put the 1 in red so that you can see that I did cross it out. I will cross it out in a moment. So 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 3 is 9 plus the 1, and that's 10. And we encourage them to cross out, because as the calculation may get more complicated, there will be, you know, quite a few exchanges to add on, and we don't want them to get into a muddle. The 1 here, or the 0 here, I've made it quite large to really emphasize the fact that they need to remember the placeholder. Sometimes if they tend to forget, we draw a little smiley face in it just so that it's something to help them remember the placeholder. That's quite a common mistake. The reason we have the placeholder, because we're now multiplying 34 by 20, not by 2, even though when we're saying it, it will be times 2. We are multiplying by 20, so I have my little placeholder there. So I have that there, and then I do 2 times 4 is 8, 3 times 2 is 6. And then I have my line underneath, I add, and then 2 plus 0 is 2, 8 and 0 is 8, and 6 and 1 is 7. And we then have the answer of 782. So that's.
And the risk there is if you hadn't crossed out that 1 earlier on, they might have said 8 plus 1
Yes,
is 9,
exactly.
and then it was 792 as the answer by mistake.
So then looking on, or moving on to where we're multiplying 3 digits by 2. And I've just laid it out as I laid out the other one. And alongside it, then we want them to, once they've calculated the first line, alongside it for them to know that it's 326 times 2 is what I'm getting here. And then on the next line, I'm getting 326 times 30. So they can really see clearly what they're doing and what they're multiplying by. And you can see here, they're multiplying by 30, not by 3. 6 times 2 is 12, I have my 2, my 1 is here. 2 times 2 is 4, add my 1, I have 5, and 3 times 2 is 6. And again, I've crossed out to show that I've actually used it, I've added it already. My placeholder, my 0, 3 times 6 is 18, I have my 8 and my 1. 3 times 2 is 6, and 1 is 7. 3 times 3 is 9, and I have my 9 there. And then I add. And with my addition here, just like we showed earlier, 8 and 5 is 13, so my 3 is there, and my 1 is there, underneath the line, and then 7 and 6 is 13, add 1 is 14, 4 is here in my 1, and then 9 and 1 is 10. And that's that. So that's a 3-digit by 2-digit calculation. And then still in year 5, we are looking at 4 digits, and this is where children find this quite a lot more challenging, because there's a lot, because you're multiplying 4 digits by 2. There's just quite a lot to remember. So this is getting definitely more challenging, and some children might still find just the 2 by 2, quite a challenge. But this is what we do teach in year 5. And the exact same method, multiplying by the units first, or the ones first, and then showing here that this line is 6,324 multiplied by 3, and this line is 6,324 times 30. And the same exact method 3 times 4 is 12, crossing it out as we go, and then adding to get your final answer. And making sure that they are accurate and, you know, double checking their answers.